Axons Unleashed.
G'day everyone, my name's Robbie Turner. Welcome to another episode of Axons Unleashed. I feel like you guys are going to get a bit of a snapshot of my past as I welcome our amazing guest today, Miss Vanessa Moore. So I'm really looking forward to Vanessa sharing some of the things about when we first met. And effectively, you know, Vanessa, I've got to say up front, you're going to be a bit embarrassed about this. Thank you for contributing so much into the half-decent human being that I've become and the somewhat okay business owner that's just having a crack. Welcome to Axons Unleashed, mate.
Thank you, Robbie. I appreciate those words.
I'm speaking to you over in Perth.
Yes, I'm in Perth.
I know.
And a bit cold today, but it's still lovely and sunny. So
Good.
I'm looking forward to having a really good chat with you.
Awesome, mate. Me too. And for those watching on YouTube, you can see over Vanessa's right shoulder there the Tigers. She's an avid Tiger supporter from an AFL perspective. So, yes, mate. We were just speaking off camera quickly. You had listened to one of the episodes in particular that I directed you. When we spoke on the phone a few weeks ago, I'm like, hey, if you want to jump on our podcast to share your story and tell everyone what you're up to right now and how you're helping the veteran and entrepreneur community. But you went back and listened to the Joe Lucino podcast that we did, episode 29, I believe. I actually know that episode number off by heart now because I've directed quite a few people there. Interestingly, yesterday I just saw on our marketing stats over 540 people have accessed that podcast alone, so that's freaking excellent. Noting it says every defense member and veteran, needs to listen to this. Tell us some of your thoughts about what you discovered there. Like, what were maybe the top 3 or 4 things that you discovered on that podcast? You're like, wow, that's really made an impact on me.
I think it's the veteran thing.
Mm-hmm.
My hubby was in for 20 years, as you know, which helps give me really great insight into how the military brain works and how you guys are programmed.
Yes.
But that you're a veteran for life.
True.
That never goes away, that identity or lack of identity, or the other thing that Joe talked about a lot was identity. That was a really big one for me. The one thing that he said that really gripped me was the fact that the uniform, he assimilated it to being like in the clergy or living in a monastery. And I thought, isn't that really amazing that defining thing has stuck with him for such a long time? And that's what it's like. You get up and you know what you're going to wear every day.
Yeah. Mate, it's one of the first things I did, Vanessa, when I started Axon. It's not this exact shirt that I wear now, but certainly this has been around for, so what are we, 5 years and 2 months old now. I'd say this shirt's been around for 4.5 years. There's a few little iterations of it beforehand. But regardless, mate, the very first thing I did was we went down and got work shirts.
Uniforms.
I even feel it now, like if I'm at home just tapping away on a few things on the computer and I'm just in my civilian training shirt, whatever else, Singo, rocking the guns, whatever, I'm not really in work mode, but as soon as I put my Axon shirt on, something different comes over me and I'm in work mode properly. So, yeah, I think it's a no-brainer. I see so many other corporates walking around here in the Gold Coast and wherever else, and I know who they work for and they don't have a brand on. They're walking around invisible. Why not fucking let everyone know who you are and what you're doing?
Yeah, 100%.
So yeah,
it's when I worked in the bank, we loved our uniform because as women especially, we had so many choices about what we could wear. And the number of times we'd all happen to rock up in the same skirt and shirt, and you'd have a whole branch of 8 women in exactly the same skirt and shirt, and people thought it was orchestrated, but it was never orchestrated. It just happened that way.
That's a sense of belonging. It's a sense of we've had people come and join here before. They're like, when am I going to get my shirt? Like, when do I actually feel like I'm playing the game? Well,
here's what's really funny. The client I coach on a Wednesday morning today, they've really, embraced me as part of the team.
Good.
I actually wear a shirt,
nice.
A TSS shirt. And the other day they ordered new shirts and jumpers, and Tony said to me, go and tell Claire what you want. So I do. I rock up in their shirt every week.
It's a no-brainer.
And it's amazing the difference that it makes for me walking in wearing that, because I feel a lot more part of it. Even though I'm the coach, And believe me, if I do have to go in and be the coach, there's times when I'll do the coach thing and, power up.
Good.
But more often than not, I just love being in there and being part of that because this makes me part of it. So.
Yeah, mate. Yeah, I can see you. Yeah, you look really good with your little uniform on there. So you said you're a coach. Like, I'm a property coach. You're a coach. Let's just sort of frame it and just give everyone a bit of an idea about who is Vanessa Moore, and then we can go back into, because that's going to lead into how we met and et cetera, et cetera. So yeah, mate. Who are you? What do you do? What's your background? Tell us the story.
Okay, so I'm a business coach. That's the title.
Love it.
However, I coach. People say, "Oh, what does a business coach do?" And pretty much, I life coach business owners. Most businesses rot from the head down, as they say. I'll never forget when Bruce, who actually got me into the Action Coach franchise 17 years ago, said to me, that businesses are an extension of the owner. So over the years that I've been coaching, yes, I coach business owners to be better people, have a better culture and work on their vision. But I also work on the plan, the structure and the foundation of how the business is running. I work with team if I need to work with team. Sometimes I'll don the safety boots and work in the warehouse with a team member. I do whatever it takes to get the results that my clients want.
Good.
Yeah, that's what I enjoy about it, is that I'm very heart connected as well. So sometimes a coaching session is just literally a conversation for an hour and a half. Other times it's sitting on the floor with the flip chart paper and nutting out how we're going to employ the next person.
Yeah, yeah.
Whatever it takes, that's what I do.
Take me back to the start. There's many veterans I have on here. I'm like, why did you join the military?
Yeah.
You didn't join the military, and I know you've got Pete as your veteran husband. We'll certainly cover off on that soon because that's the linkage to the military, quite frankly. What got you into business coaching? Where did that fire come from? Because I hear you talk about it. I hear you talk about it, and I know you're as passionate about it as what I am about this. That's why you and I have always bounced off very well with each other, the levels of passion we have for our particular venture. So you fell into it. That's unusual.
Totally. So I left school in 1988 and knew I wasn't going to pass year 12. So got myself a job in a bank before FPOS. There was 2 ATMs in Melbourne. So banking was purely customer service. We'd have clients knocking on the door at 5 o'clock on a Friday saying, I need money. So I did 12 years there. And, obviously with online banking and the changes with technology, it changed. So I left and then bounced around for a while, worked in transport and logistics, stayed with corporates, obviously. And then I think it was 2003, got a job working for a small business, which totally freaked me out. To hear the boss come down the stairs one day and say, if any of the subbies' wives ring, tell them they're not getting paid till Monday. And this is Friday afternoon.
Oh, thanks, boss.
And I'm like, what's that all about?
Yeah.
So I got headhunted out of there to a really crappy business, lied to, as we do. But I met this guy down at the local wine bar and living in a little town in 60 k's from Melbourne, driving this little yellow RX-8. And he's an interesting guy. We'd be sitting around on a Friday night talking about what he does. And he was a business coach. I had absolutely no idea.
He was a business coach and had no idea. Shit, that's dangerous.
Yeah, so he was at conference and rang his wife and said, listen, tell Vanessa I want to see her when she gets back. And offered me a job working for him 2 days a week, 800 metres from my front door as his business development manager. At the time, I was temping at Maersk in Melbourne. So I was, drive, train. They'd offered me a job. And I said to them, can I do 3 days? I've got 2 days close to home. And they said, yeah, no worries. So I went and worked for Bruce. 6 weeks later, the leader of the pack, Mr. Brad Sugars, was on stage in Melbourne, and I went and saw him and just thought, wow, this is what I want to do. I want to be a business coach. I can do this. So I did all the research, got the license, did the training, push it uphill with clients saying, but you've never owned a business. And I'm like, well, yeah, but, when you work in a bank, you're a profit centre when you're a branch. If you're working in a department, you're a profit centre. You've got goals, KPIs, targets. You know, when Don Argus introduced core vision and mission in 1994, we had a little business card with it on there that we had to carry with us, and we knew about it. There was a TV show we watched 2 days a week, and he enrolled us in what the vision of the business was. And we were the first bank to make $1 billion profit.
Wow, that's pretty impressive.
Because, it was amazing. And everyone globally got a paid day off as a thank you. When you hit your KPIs as a team, ours was a zero error KPI, charging fees to clients, we set a structure to make sure that we did that, and we did it 3 quarters in a row. So translate that into being a business coach, accountability, running a business, doing this, doing that. That's what stood me in good stead when people realised that I had that experience.
Yeah, there's no doubt about it. If people are going on any sort of venture, and it's the same with me doing the property coaching, why would you want to start a business without someone that can coach, guide, lead, mentor, support you along? Yeah. Why would you want to go and buy a property with anyone who's not going to coach, guide, lead, mentor, support you along? You know, full disclosure, mate, when I was working with that other firm, as it's commonly known, inside the Axon thing, you know, yourself and Pete, you guys bought and built 2 properties under the tutelage of us. And we coached, guided and supported and mentor you along there. So,
and you did it again when I sold it.
Yeah, that's right. You reached out to me like a few years later, Robbie.
Well, you were the only person I was ever going to talk to about it, because I trust you.
That's lovely.
You know your stuff.
So business coaching, mate. What's probably, and I love doing this to our guests here, like put you on the spot a little bit. What's probably some of the biggest failures in business? And remember, ladies and gents, part of Axons Unleashed is all about veteran entrepreneurship. So if you ever want to start your own business one day, please listen into this stuff. It ain't fucking easy. That'd be the number one thing I'd say to anyone about starting the business. I'm like, fucking strap yourself in, because it ain't easy. That's the first thing. Yeah. Just give us a bit of an insight. It's almost like tell us a couple of horror stories, Vanessa, of just quickly, what are some of the dumbest and biggest mistakes that entrepreneurs have done that sort of spring to mind, mate? Question without warning.
Oh, I should have had my client list in front of me.
No, you don't. No names, no pack drills, but like what sort of?
I'm just trying to think. Look, I've seen people go bankrupt.
Right, that's bad.
I've actually had a client have to declare bankruptcy because he just wouldn't listen.
Okay.
Just wouldn't listen. You know, I've had clients that not even clients, I've had prospects that I've spoken to, oh no, coaching's too expensive. And then 2 years later, you see that they've liquidated. The worst thing people can do is start a business without support.
Yeah, I've got this saying, if you think the price of education and coaching is expensive, try the price of, exactly. You know, arrogance and ignorance. Like it's silly.
Yeah. Look, not understanding the numbers, not onboarding team correctly, just burying their head in the sand, trying to do everything themselves. I've seen a lot.
They're 3 really big ones. Yeah. Not knowing the numbers, so not having fiscal understanding or financial understanding and the responsibility of being a director of a business.
Yeah.
Knowing your people and what it's like to recruit, like from a military perspective, ladies and gents, you've got to be able to equip, train, raise, train, sustain, lead, and maintain your force.
Yes.
But in the military, you don't have to pay them. So you need to be able to do, as business owner, I need to be able to do all that stuff, and I've got to pay them as well. So there's that bit of a dual hat role there. You know, and then the other one's just all about not really recognizing what the true business process is and living on hopium and putting your head in the sand and hoping it's going to go away when it starts to get a bit rocky. Yeah. Like that's 3 massive things, mate, that you've come up with out of the blue. So yeah.
And it's you know, I mean, I've been around coaching for a long time. You know, the beauty of what Brad created with Action Coach is a system for us to be able to take that to our clients to get success and results. But over the years, you know, I intrinsically know a lot of things. So I've developed my own way of doing things with my clients as well. But what's interesting is to hear people say, oh, we can get you 400% increase in turnover and we can get you 100% increase in profit. But if you don't have a foundation and structure, if you don't have the systems, if you don't have things in place so that if a client says, hey, we want double our order in 2 months' time, if you don't have recruitment in place or systems in place to support it, what's the point?
Or stock that you can sell. Yeah.
Correct. So start with the basics, firm up the foundation, get the business owner to a point where they're actually enjoying life because they've decided they've chosen to own a business, because owning a business is about creating choices. It's amazing to see how many business owners are still technicians in their business. They're employees. They're not even self-employed.
Yep. They've got a job.
Some can't even take a day off without having the phone in their hand.
Yep. And you know what? Going through that stage is something you have to do.
Yeah.
You can't just, I was talking in black and white. It'd be very unusual for someone who's got a spark of an idea, and let's talk about in the current context of Axons Unleashed. Someone's in the military right now. They're sick of fucking having a boss and some of the military style leadership that needs to occur, as what Joe Lucino was speaking about in that podcast, Instinctive Obedience and the like. That shit gets a bit old with most people one day. With everyone, I'm like, fuck that. I don't want to operate my life like that anymore. I want to go and be a normal person. No worries.
That's what you said in that podcast about the 10-year mark, is that some people get to the 10-year mark, and it's a milestone.
Yeah.
But then it's and I've had many occasions on Anzac Day over the years, going to Ramey functions and stuff. And because I smoked
Pete was in Ramey. Yep.
Pete was in Ramey, yeah. I'd be outside having a cigarette and a drink, and the boys would be out. Some of the boys would be out as well, and we'd get into conversations about where they were at. Some were still in, just unsure about getting out. Some had just got out and were working in a civilian job going, holy crap, what is this stuff? How does it work like that?
Yeah, but that's the thing. What I was saying is that in the military, I would have said this as well. You don't get taught about, even if you go into an MBA, no worries. You know how to run marketing, sales, people, finance, product, etc. But it's all book smart stuff. You don't actually know how to then go and create a vision and create an audience and do your marketing. So that's what I was trying to say, is that it's very unusual for someone to be able to step out of the military and have a business idea, and then all of a sudden they're going to have a fucking fully functioning bloody business under their belt. So you've got to build it from the ground up, and you will go through those stages where you are the technician and the leader and the manager before you get to the entrepreneur. Yeah. And it's fucking hard work. Like and I'm not complaining one little bit, but it takes a lot of hard work. Well, that's different. Yeah.
And that's where, I was lucky. I did an apprenticeship with Bruce, with the coaching. I was working for him for 10 months before I went to Vegas to do my training. So I got to see everything, and I worked directly with his clients, helped him manage his diary, talked to him every week about what he was doing with them and how he was coaching them and where they were at. So, I say to people, if you can do an apprenticeship, do it. You did.
Yep.
And it's all well and good to say, I want to come out and buy a business. Okay, well, arm yourself with the skills and the knowledge to be able to go and then run that business. Now, whether that's buy the business and bring a coach on board straight away, or whether that's have the idea to buy the business, go and get a job in a few different places just to get a feel of what it looks like before you then take the leap of faith and then go and do it.
It is when you become a business owner, ladies and gents, you go all in. So use the Vegas analogy. You grab the chips of your whole fucking life and you go all in.
Yeah.
With no safety net.
Yeah.
When I busted my ankle and was in hospital for the better part of 6 months, the last half of 2017, we started the business in February 2017. So 4 months later, I'm in fucking hospital. I can't ring the boss and tell him I need to go on sick leave. I can't go on annual leave. You've got nothing. I highly dissuade the intent of anyone to step straight out of the military into being your own business owner. That is like that's swinging the pendulum way too far the other way. As you said, Vanessa, go and work in the industry and be an employee in a few different jobs in your chosen industry. And sure, if you don't know what that is at the moment, just go do something once the hammer's fallen on your military career. And feel what it's like to not have that fortnightly paycheck come in. If as long as you can put a, you know what it's like, heartbeat in a uniform, you get paid. It ain't like that in the real world, buddy, is it?
No.
No.
And you've got to have a safety net.
Yeah.
You know, I'm lucky. I as Peter always says to me, sweetie, you only need your mouth. That's all you need to work. And I did. I busted both my elbows a few years ago and was lying in bed, but I was still coaching.
Yeah.
You know, just on the phone. It was fine. But for a lot of other people, you know, they have to be on the ground. So you've got to have a safety net. The other side of going and working for somebody before you actually start your business, if you've just come out, is you need to learn to be a civilian.
Yeah.
It's a learning thing.
True. Very true. Very true. Let's talk. You use that term apprenticeship, and you rightly said you did one.
Yeah, I did.
That's how we met, isn't it?
Yeah.
Let's transition into that. Like, so
I did your apprenticeship.
I had been out of the military. When did we meet? So it was 2017 that I started here.
2014 or 15.
2013 I started working with old mate. So I was there 2014, 15. So yeah, you were almost like, as that business grew quite quickly, I was like the junior burger sales consultant. Then I was the sales manager. Then I became the general manager. I finished up as a general manager. So I was like the sales manager / general manager in training of that other firm. And again, I've said it publicly before, and I'll say it publicly again. I owe a lot, and I'm still very thankful and grateful to the other gentleman who gave me a chance when I got out of the military after my own humble 24 years.
Yeah.
But nothing's forever, and that didn't turn out to. We didn't have values alignment by the time we sort of, you know, I stepped left, he stepped right, and that's totally fine. Doesn't mean I'm ungrateful for that opportunity. But I guess he decided he knew the value of having a business coach as well.
Yeah.
For his team, not himself. That's a fucking separate conversation. Anyway, I knew you'd laugh at that because it's true. He's like, you guys need business coaching, but I don't need any fucking coaching. Anyway, so you came into the business and you effectively started to teach me about systems and processes and checklists and hiring and like all that stuff. And it was a real baptism of fire, and you helped me immeasurably, Vanessa. You taught me how to be a civilian in a corporate or in private sector business space. So what were your first impressions of me? Take our listeners back to when you were first introduced to me, and you can be as raw and real here, mate. You were like a machine
gun, Robbie. Seriously, you were like a machine gun. You just wanted everything to happen now. And I think that's a military thing, because it's like, Pete, I want it now.
Yeah.
You know, you were passionate. Very passionate. There were a lot of things you didn't know and that you wanted to learn. So you were very, very eager to learn and be more and do more. It was fun working with you, and I loved working with the team. I was actually, so I was talking to a client the other day about disc profiling, and a couple of his team members are having a hard time getting their head around the questionnaire. And it took me back to when I flew to Brisbane, and everyone had done their DISC and their VAC reports. So visual, auditory, kinesthetic, for those of you that don't know what it is. And a DISC is dominance, influence, steadiness, compliance. It's a behavioural profile.
I remember this.
But I remember the day we got the whiteboard out and I drew the graph of who everybody was and the conversations that came out of it. Your high D, bit of I, lots of C, detail, and task. You had everything. But you wanted everything to happen now. But what I loved was being able to say to you, okay, well, here's what I think the process should be. You said this is what you think it should be, and we went and built it.
Yeah.
You know, and things got done. And all the reporting, the Excel spreadsheets that you built, and the structure and the flow and the phone calls and I knew that you could, as soon as you started Axon, I knew you were going to be successful because you translated that into who you were, but you did struggle with the civilian bit.
Yeah. So back then I
remember some pretty tough conversations that I had with you and just said, fucking stop it.
Yeah, that's right. Well, yeah, mate, and that's that thing that Joe Lucino was talking about, that going into the real world and in the civilian world is not the real world for who we were. And you know my career, mate, having 24 years and half as a junior NCO / senior NCO and the other half as an officer, it's very all in an arms corps, all in a high tempo, all in sort of dangerous circumstances.
Yeah.
it's fucking hard to break the mold, and I make no apologies for it. But I'm, as you sort of said in your opening stanza, it's all about being open to learning how to be a different person without losing your character or your spirit or who you actually are.
Well, because you're still intrinsically the same person. It's just the behaviours.
Yeah, and the environment.
If you look at the identity iceberg, and for those of you listening, you can Google what the identity iceberg is. What's below the waterline that we don't see? Only we can change that stuff. Our environment changes who we are. Our decisions, our actions, and our behaviours change who we are. If people are aware of their identity and then realise that they need to shift their identity because of the environment that they've put themselves in, then get someone to help you do the work, or identify it yourself and find someone to help you do the work, or read a book, or watch a podcast, or reach out to a friend or someone you know that's had a similar experience and have a conversation.
True story. I still listen to business coaching podcasts and ebooks and all that sort of stuff. Again, on the way to work this morning, one of the guys were talking about there's a book called Your Next 5 Moves by Patrick Bet-David, ex-US military guy.
Yeah.
And so he said, he goes, even last year, someone asked me, what's the biggest investment I can make in my business? And I've heard this for years now. And he's like, invest in your education, invest in your coaching, investing in learn more about being a successful business owner. So I really got the first taste of that with you, and you know that we were part of the Business Blueprint coaching program down there, and certainly Tamara and I had a bit of a dip with the K2 program with Kerwin Ray, and now we've been part of the Jack Delosia Entourage program, for the last probably 4 years, and so I've invested probably $200,000 or so over the last 5 years into me, into learning more about being a successful CEO. Because what my job is here is I need to be able to create an environment where veterans and other civilians come to our workplace, put their shirt on, and make sure that they are challenged, make sure that they are valued and respected, and create an environment where they can come in and be their best selves. Because when you have great people that work in your business, they do great work, they attract great clients, and then those clients attract more clients through referrals and repeat business, and so the cycle of business goes. So I still feel like such a baby entrepreneur, which I am only after 5 years. But because of what you exposed me to, like back in 2013, 2014, like that's almost 10 years ago. So you actually created that spark in me to learn more about how to be a better leader and a better CEO and I didn't even know I was going to start my own business back then, because that wasn't the purpose of why we met, remember?
No, but that's because the gratitude was so stuck in your head.
Yeah, the gratitude of old mate back in the day. Yeah, and the loyalty that I'd never, ever leave.
Yeah.
Until it got to a point.
I am a coach that tells it like it is.
Good, mate. It's the only way to tell it.
I don't muck around with my clients. There's no point sitting there as a coach and listening to them go below the line or, woe is me. I'll hammer him if I have to.
I literally just had something written down here. I've got my little paper, like above the line's ownership and below the line, I still remember it's BED, isn't it?
Yes.
Blame,
So
excuses, denial.
Blame, excuses, denial, and ownership, accountability.
Ownership and accountability above the line. Like I'm literally just bloody wrote it down right now. BED.
There you go.
Blame, excuses, and denial. If you when things are not going well, if someone's going into their shell, they'll blame someone else. They'll come up with all the excuses and say it's not my problem or it's not me, and they'll just fucking deny it. Below
the line is who and why.
Yes.
So if a team member turns up late, don't ask them why, because we really don't give a shit why they're late. What we want to know is what are they going to do to fix about it? Fix it.
Yep, 100%.
Right.
Which is gold. Yep.
And denial is a river in Egypt. There's not actually a question to ask about denial. So.
Because if you ask someone about denial, they'll deny it.
Yeah, exactly.
So yeah, like those very simple business concepts and sort of long, historic, proven business models and business mindset thinking, mate, you ingrained those in me bloody, almost 10 years ago, mate. So I do often reflect on who I was back then and how I acted, and just, I guess the great, even though I was still a little bit arrogant and I was a little bit arrogant, ignorant and arrogant bloody joined together, which is very, very dangerous. I'd like to think that I was open and still humble enough to know that you knew so much about this thing called business tactics and business sort of nous than what I did.
Yeah.
And yet I reflect on this a lot to a lot of other people. I'm like, the one thing you won't get taught in the military is how to be a good business owner. Even the fact I didn't even know the difference between marketing and advertising, for instance.
Yeah.
So yeah.
See, because you guys are just told what to do every day, like Joe said. You got up every day and someone was telling you what to do all day, every day, when to eat, when to sleep, when to shower. Do you know what I mean? It was just it's the non-negotiables. You know, that's a big one that's been coming up with me with my clients in the last 12 months, 2 years, especially since COVID. What are the non-negotiables? The things that you have to do every single day that are actually going to get you to where you want to go, and have the discipline to do them every day. How do you plan? When do you plan? When do you work on your business, not just in it? When do you close the door and have a weekend?
So you're not talking about, there's a little distinction I want to make here. The task list of what you're doing is not the non-negotiables. You're talking about the behaviours around getting all that stuff done. I just want to make that clear to everyone. Yeah.
I've got a client that's been trying to have was researching cold showers and been wanting to get himself to the point of having a cold shower every day, but he kept forgetting. So last Friday, I sent him an email saying cold, cold, cold shower. And then on Monday morning, because I'm up at 5, I actually texted him at 5 o'clock Monday morning.
Oi, get in the shower.
Cold shower, and he did. That's accountability.
I was just about to say that's having someone hold you accountable.
And if you want to change a behaviour, put a process in place and make an agreement with yourself.
That contract,
about how
daily
you're going to
contract.
change it.
Yeah,
You know, and that's what business is. Business is structure. Business is planning. You know, business is what am I doing and when am I doing it? I sit down every Friday afternoon, and because I'm very highly kinesthetic and still use a paper diary, I have a sheet of paper with the days of the week on there, and I actually write out all my meetings, all my non-negotiables, and then I write in there in a different coloured pen different things that I need to be doing either off my 90-day plan or stuff that I might need to do for a client. I write that on there. That gets ticked off every week.
Nice.
And my week isn't finished till it's done. You know, and yes, it's rigid. Yes, you know, like I say to people, you guys had non-negotiables. You knew how your day was planned. But not everybody comes out and stays that way.
I think the longer you stay in, the more you do stay that way. Yeah.
But some people don't.
Yeah. Let's switch gears for a second. Let's talk about the great man, Peter Moore, your amazing husband. I really, really liked Pete. Like him and I just connected when we first met. We didn't know each other in the military.
Yeah.
What did he do? 20-something? How?
20.
20.
Well, technically 20.
20 years as a Ramey NCO. What he got out as a sergeant or a warrant officer, do I remember?
Woe too.
Thank you. Everyone's like, geez, you really fucking connected with him, Robbie. Sorry, mate. It was a long time we spoke. And he too has forged himself a very successful career.
Oh, yeah.
Working in Caterpillar now, and he's worked there the whole time I've known him.
Still there. Well, he got headhunted into CAT while he was still in the army.
Amazing. Right.
And
when did he get out? How long's he been out for?
2000 and we got together in 2002. So I think he was
okay.
out.
So 20 years out.
Yeah.
Shit, that's amazing.
2001, I think he went into CAT on contract, on his long service leave, and then he decided that he wanted to stay. So he jumped out, came to Perth, did his exit at Lewin, and then basically stayed at CAT. And went full head count, I think, 12 months later.
Love it.
And that's where we met, you know.
I was just about to say, so you've got this guy, he's done 20 years in Ramey, got out as a Woe too. Yeah. Very articulate, very details focused, like, you know, being in the Royal Australian Electrical Mechanical Engineers is what the Ramey sort of motto is there for those that don't know. You don't get to the rank of Woe too if you're not a contributor, i.e. a dickhead, and you don't know your shit. They just don't put you in that sort of position. So, and now he's sort of got out. But yeah, how did you guys meet? This is a MA 15 plus podcast. So you can tell us the truth.
Well, I don't know. I used to, when you were out of the car park, I had to walk past the workshop where Pete, he wasn't on the tools, but where they worked. And I'd seen him at the pub a few times, never really sort of talked or said anything. And then the night of the dinner dance in 2002, we were the last function. The Caterpillar dinner dance was the last function in the MCC long room in the MCG before it got knocked down and renovated. So Collingwood were playing in Sydney, so the G was empty. And being a smoker, as I said earlier, I was going out for a cigarette and actually going down to the ground level of the ground, looking at the G. No game, no people, in the dark, and it was freaky. So anyway, we're back upstairs, and when everyone had arrived, Tracy's husband or Vanessa, as we call ourselves, walked in, and Brendan gave me a kiss hello, and I'm like, hi, BG, Pete was next to him, so Pete gave me a kiss hello, and I'm like, oh, yeah, hi, Peter. And Tracy comes up behind me and goes, oh, Petey's single.
Just FYI.
Okay. Anyway, so it's we're sitting upstairs and talking about the footy scores, and I said to Brendan and a couple of the other guys, have you been out and had a look at the ground? And they're like, no. Can you get down there? I'm like, yeah. So everyone bolted out. We're all down there having a chat. Starts to rain. We go and sit under cover, and neither of us can really recall what happened next. Next thing, we're upstairs and we're kissing. So
bloody good on you, mate. That's fantastic.
Tell me, hey,
you guys have been together ever since?
20 years in August.
Yeah, amazing. So he was in for 20. He's been out for 20.
Yeah.
Tell me some of the. And I did invite him to come along to this, and what did he say?
So did I.
I'm not going to talk about that bullshit.
He goes, no. He goes, I can't remember half that shit.
Oh, that's right. I can't remember. He's a really, really lovely guy, and he would have really, really value added to this. And Pete, when you're listening, mate, from me to you, I know you're doing fantastic things, and I can't wait to cross paths with you again soon. Yeah. What are some of the things that he does on a daily or weekly basis, Vanessa, that just reminds you, even though you didn't know him in the military, but really reminds you that he's definitely a veteran?
I think it's the way he does his job, the way he deals with people. I mean, I still hear the intolerance of people, his intolerance of people who don't do their job. And, the analogy that I used the other day when I was talking to a couple of people about finally deciding to get myself into this space as a coach, was the distinction is that when you're in the military, when your officer or your CO says jump, everyone jumps. But out in the civilian world, 7 out of 10 might jump. The other 3 will just go, doesn't suit me to do it right now, or I'll do it later.
Yeah. Wow.
And I think that's what he struggles to deal with because, he's been part of global mining with CAT since we moved here in 2009. And Caterpillar have fairly large customers. And, that's his struggle, is dealing with those people that just aren't doing their jobs. They're not doing their work. And it impedes on his ability to do what he does.
He must be frustrated at that.
Yeah, he does. He does get frustrated. He's been working from home for 2 years. Like, he's now going in on a Wednesday, which is great.
Good.
But, I've always listened to him talk about his work. I've always been interested. And having worked at CAT myself, even though I worked in CAT Finance, I get it. I get how the company works. I get what they do. I get what their their model is on their delivery to their customers. I understand the products. So I've always been interested in what he does and how he does it. And, he really loved working with the apprentices doing failure analysis and training and stuff 20-odd years ago.
Good on him.
And that was the memory that came up on Facebook the other day because he got invited to the 40th anniversary. And he actually posted his gratitude about working at Caterpillar and meeting the love of his life. I still see that Facebook memory and run inside and remind him.
That's bloody beautiful. Beautiful.
Yeah, he does. He does still struggle with people that just don't. And he's just, when he gets an idea, he'll just do it. his work ethic is there. But then again, sometimes I think he's gone the other way again about not having to do. And that's part of the domestic side of things is, it can wait. But with his work, 100%.
It's that focus. Yep.
Yeah, totally.
Yep. He's still pretty active in the Ramey sort of, brigades over there. Like he catches up with all of his mates and the associations and everything, or
no,
not?
There's not a lot of them here anymore. I don't think we've done an Anzac Day. So in 2019, he did the apprentices march out in Canberra.
Oh, good.
But then obviously 2020 there was nothing, and 2 years we haven't been to an Anzac function, and I'm not sure if there's one on this year.
Sure. Yeah.
So the WA Ramey, I think that fell over a little bit. I'm not sure, but I think he's riding to Kings Park with his riding mates now because he does ride.
Oh, is he a mammal?
Well, yeah.
Middle-aged male in lycra?
Yeah.
A mammal?
Yeah.
Good on him. For those that are not watching on YouTube, Vanessa's scrunching up her face a little bit.
I try not to get up before he leaves.
Yeah, but I don't want to see you in your lycra. Hey, let's finish off the next 10 minutes or so. I'm really interested to know, V, what are you doing now? So I know you're still doing business coaching, but I know you've had a bit of a realization, haven't you, from a veteran perspective, that you've got, and hopefully, no doubt, all of our listeners have got a real connection with you now as well. You're a Top Gun business coach. You've been living with a veteran for the last part of 20 years. You've worked with me as a veteran, sort of helping stuff through. I get a sense you've gravitated sort of back towards the veteran community a bit, haven't you? And tell us about that.
Well, I actually met a vet through a mutual friend a few years ago that was looking at starting a not-for-profit to support veterans back into work through different modalities and all that sort of stuff. And it died because there was a realisation that they were basically just pushing shit uphill to try and get it off the ground because there wasn't necessarily a desire by a lot of vets for what they wanted to do. But yeah, I've been thinking about this for a long time. Being the spouse of a vet, having met so many of them over the years at Anzac functions, and my skills as a coach, someone pointed out to me there used to be a magazine that would come out that's now defunct for military people to actually buy businesses. Everyone advertised in it, like all your franchises and all that sort of stuff.
Yep.
But I think my journey's just led me to this point now, 5 years after the realisation that I do have a skill, that I want to insert myself into that area, that there are plenty of people out there that are ex-serving, whether it's military or services, fire, police. I've got a mate that's an ex-policeman who said he struggled when he got out of the police. That now's the time to get myself out there and let people know that, I get what's happened in here in the past and how to help them actually make a future out in the civilian world, work on their identity and have a successful business at the same time.
It's the hardest thing that anyone's going to do if they want to have a coach come into their life is find a connection with that person.
Yeah.
And I can absolutely vouch for the connection that you can provide, and as no doubt people are listening and seeing, you are direct, you are articulate, but you're passionate and you care about the outcome. And I'm the same as a coach as well. Like if I think someone's going to be a pain in the ass, or they're not coachable, or they know better, I'm not your guy, mate. Go fucking work with someone else. So, but conversely, if people are coachable and they're open and they're willing to learn, and they enjoy the direct, no bullshit, hey, here's the truth circumstance, fucking people love it. You know what I mean?
Yeah,
so I think there's a real opportunity for you to be able to inject yourself back into the, living over in Perth, no doubt. It's almost like Prime Minister of Perth, Mark McGowan. I know he's the Premier, but Prime Minister of Mark McGowan. He's had the border shut for that whole 2 year period. So I know that's made it incredibly tough.
You look at McGowan's background. He was a pusser.
He was a Navy lawyer.
He was. I actually said that to him at a dinner about 8 or 9 years ago that I got invited to. I said to him, "So were you a pusser?" And he just looked at me. I said, "I just had to say it because my husband's ex-army and I know what you guys call each other." But you look at the way he conducts himself and what he does, you can see that in him.
Yeah.
Because it never goes away.
That's right.
And the other thing I'm passionate about, aside from working with ex-serving people that own businesses, is, I talked to a guy that's ex-US Navy, and he told me about his exit. And I hear stories about people's exits. I want to get into that area like Joe. I want to be able to run a workshop for people that are exiting that's no bullshit, that's going to tell them the truth from a civilian side and a veteran's wife side to help prepare them. Because Craig said to me, he just left, when he left the US Navy, he was in Japan. His family was here, but he had to go to the US to exit, and it was a total waste of time.
Yeah, it could have been so much smoother. And that whole thing about transition right now is very, very high on everyone's sort of mindset. So look, if I'm a veteran, I've been in a business for a couple of years.
Yep.
I know that it's going okay, but I know that it needs some external help as far as that goes. Like what's probably the top 5 things that you would be able to provide a veteran, like straight away, if you like, all right, sit down, do a diagnosis and like, right, depending on what the outcomes are, but like just give us a bit of an idea about what are sort of some of the top 5 outcomes that you'd be trying to get a business to that's maybe 1 or 2 years old.
Obviously a strong plan.
Good.
With a vision. So what's the vision? Actually having a vision based on the 6 steps and the structure. Understanding what they need to be working on now. So the next 90 days and 90 days and 90 days. How many hours a week are they working? What's their life cycle and structure like? And their mindset and their team. You know, and then making sure that they've got the numbers down pat. And if they don't, what do we need to put in place for you to start to know your numbers? I
was just about to say, don't forget about the finances, because the money is the oxygen that allows a business to breathe. Yeah.
Totally.
Yeah. Well, mate, I think it's a no-brainer. You can see Vanessa's got a strong veteran background. She's obviously a Top Gun, business coach. Even though you're located in Perth, you do stuff all around the country. Not like we do. We just do Zoom calls with all of our clients. I've had people buy 3 or 4 properties with me. I've never met them face to face, but I fucking know everything about them. Seen their kids grow up, dogs die, fucking you name it, right? So it's just
reach out.
Yeah.
Zoom is what kept us alive through COVID.
Yes,
and we didn't have it as bad as everyone else over here, but I still got my coaching group together on it instead of fortnightly on a Monday. As soon as we got locked down, it was weekly on a Monday, and it's just important to have connection.
Even though 100% agree, I was just about to say, even though Tamara and I have been part of more corporate civilian-based business coaching, we still walk away, we go, all right, what does that actually mean to us and our business and our clientele? But so that we've got to close that bridge ourselves from a connect. Even though I do connect with them down there, and I've been out for nearly 9 years now, so I'm okay at being a civvy, and I'm okay in my own skin. I'm not a civvy, I'm a veteran. That's different. I'm a veteran in a civilian world, and I'm part way through cracking the code on what that actually looks like, and I'm comfortable with it all. But the business coaches that I have they still don't know what it's like to be a veteran.
No.
But even though you weren't a veteran with 20 years of living with Pete, if you're out there right now, ladies and gents, and you're thinking about starting a business, or you've got your own business started already and you need some help, you got to go somewhere. Vanessa, how and where do they find you?
Get coached.
Like what's a website? What's an email? What's a phone number? What's the story?
Getcoached.com.au and send me a contact request, or email Vanessa at getcoached.com.au.
Love it. So it's literally getcoached.com.au.
Yes. And you know how direct I am. That's where Get Coached came from.
Yeah. 2 little fingers up like that. So it's almost like it's almost like the little Deliveroo signal. Says symbol, but it's slightly different.
Well, no one would actually allow me to have my logo like
go
that.
and face that way. Yes.
So that's why the guy actually made it Get Coached by Vanessa.
Yeah, I love it. Mate, thank you so much for joining us here on Axons Unleashed. I love sharing a little bit about my past that no one's ever been exposed to before. The importance of having someone like you in my life when I too was learning how to be, that sort of middle manager, senior manager in a business. You know, and certainly like if you've got aspirations of learning and being in your own business one day down the track, but you're happy working where you are, like I was back in the day, it still shouldn't stop you from at least reaching out to someone and getting some coaching under your belt. Because again, and you guys know my story, literally old mate walked in one day and said, if you're leaving, fucking get out now. And I had to start a business at the drop of a hat. So,
you knew exactly what we'd done. We built those systems together, so it was
correct.
easy for you to just have it in your brain and just replicate.
But I was lucky that I had the training under my belt from you. It would have been a lot harder.
You would have been like a deer in the headlights.
Even more. It would have been a lot harder if I had the guillotine on another career came down quite quickly. That I was able to basically get the sort of momentum going, and fast forward 5 years and fucking here we are.
You were born to do this.
Mate, I do, and I've said this plenty of times, and even on Joe Lucino's podcast, I loved my time in the military. Green was pulsating through my fucking veins, and you can actually see my veins back then, and I loved it. But when that time came to an end, I've actually realised now that I'm living my best life now. I thought I was living my best life back then, and I loved my time in the military, but it's a fucking 6.5 out of 10 compared to what I'm living now. It honestly is.
And, that's what everything is about, is living our best life.
Agreed.
And if we own a business, there's no point owning a business if we can't live our best life. It shouldn't hold us back.
Of course, mate. It's going to be a vehicle for us to be able to make our life even better, to have those choices and
Exactly.
be enriched in whatever way, and that sort of means for you. Vanessa Moore, you're a bloody superstar. Thank you so much for joining us here on Axons Unleashed. Getcoach.com.au with the fingers facing that way, not that way, is what you need to get in touch with Vanessa. Thanks, buddy. See you soon.
Thanks, Robbie. See ya.